Audemars Piguet seemingly made a pact with the commercial devil, hoping to secure its survival. This alliance was sealed by the creation of a steel watch that carried the price tag 10 times that of a Rolex Submariner. The watch was anything but traditional, featuring a bold, angular design that broke away from the norm, and not everyone saw it in a positive light. With hexagonal bolts that served no functional purpose, the absence of any complications, and the unthinkable horror of a movement sourced from an entirely different manufacturer, it challenged conventional watchmaking. However, the devil kept his end of the deal, and this status symbol of affluence became a resounding success. Wearing a royal oak left no room for doubt. It signified not just wealth, but the wealth to buy a simple steel timepiece at a higher cost than a complex gold one from the same brand. Lighting a cigar with a $100 bill suddenly paled in comparison to this display of luxury. The Royal Oak's tourbillon may appear to be a noteworthy feature, but in reality, it's not a true complication. Unlike complications that provide additional information, such as a date or moon phase, the tourbillon doesn't enhance the watch's functionality. It occupies a prominent place on the watch, often disrupting the dial's design with a conspicuous aperture. However, despite its significant presence, the tourbillon doesn't contribute much beyond aesthetics. For those less familiar with mechanical watch movements, the tourbillon showcases the escapement, which is responsible for the characteristic tick-tock sound and regulates the release of power from the mainspring. The balance wheel, at the heart of the escapement, oscillates back and forth, determining the pace at which the watch's hands move around the dial. In the era before wristwatches, when timepieces were too large to be worn on the wrist and were carried in one's pocket, the balance wheel had to contend with the force of gravity as it lay on its side. To address this challenge, renowned watchmaker Abraham Louis Breguet, a luminary in the field, developed a mechanism that housed the escapement in a rotating cage. This constant rotation evened out the gravitational imbalance acting on the balance wheel, effectively cancelling its effects. It was an ingenious solution, albeit a complex one. However, the dynamics of a wristwatch are quite different. A wristwatch isn't subject to the same gravitational forces, and it's continually in motion. As a result, the tourbillon is a historical relic that adds an ornamental touch but doesn't serve any practical purpose in a wristwatch. So that's the story of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Tourbillon Extra Thin. The question we're aiming to answer is whether this tourbillon actually enhances the Royal Oak in any meaningful way. Undeniably, the tourbillon in the Royal Oak Tourbillon Extra Thin doesn't bring any practical value to the watch. It's a non-complication that doesn't improve the watch's functionality. To make it fit within the 8.85mm thick case, this Royal Oak had to make significant sacrifices. It bid farewell to the second hand, date function, and automatic winding. This means you must manually wind the caliber 292. While there is a small power reserve indicator on the back, it doesn't fully compensate for the inconvenience of winding the watch periodically. Moreover, the Royal Oak is a horological icon. It gained notoriety in a manner somewhat akin to Paris Hilton, but it represents the juncture when the Swiss watch industry was revitalized. This may seem like a bold assertion, but considering that Audemars Piguet, along with brands like Vacheron Constantin and Patek Philippe, essentially replicated the Royal Oak's concept, and given that the Swiss watch industry now predominantly revolves around luxury and prestige, it's difficult to argue that the Royal Oak didn't play a pivotal role in the industry's transformation. The Royal Oak's iconic status hinges significantly on its distinctive appearance, and piercing a hole through it can be seen as sacrilege. Would Michelangelo's David or the Mona Lisa benefit from a hole? Typically, things designed with apertures have that intention from the outset. But let's not be overly facious. this isn't just any hole, it houses a tourbillon. Let's rewind to the 1990s, when the tourbillon experienced a revival. Manufacturers were merely placing them on the back of the watch, out of sight. However, what's the point of a complication if it doesn't serve a practical function and you can't even admire it in action? Consequently, brands began emblazoning tourbillon on the dial, akin to displaying a Ferrari key in a bar whether you own the car or not. This is how the hole in the dial came into being. If the tourbillon is purely ornamental, it should be visible, whole or not. Even the Mona Lisa would be dull if she were facing the wall, but we're somewhat caught in a cycle here. Is the Royal Oak tourbillon extra thin better for me? Does combining two purely aesthetic elements enhance its value, or is it akin to multiplying by 0? Perhaps that's a tad too contemplative. Back in 1972, when individuals were shelling out significant sums from their jewel-encrusted money clips for their fresh Royal Oaks, they weren't musing over the brand's fate or the absence of complications. Just as the owner of a Sunseeker 131 isn't worried about its miles per gallon. If the Royal Oak was intended to be the ultimate symbol of opulence, then introducing a very costly device that serves no practical purpose aligns quite nicely with that goal. And at a price that exceeds the already costly £17,300 Royal Oak, if you must inquire about the tourbillon's price, then it's probably not within your reach. This watch stays true to the original objective. In a room full of Royal Oaks, this watch is the quintessential Royal Oak. The Royal Oak among all the other Royal Oaks. And if you question that, just attempt to acquire one. You'll discover they're all sold out. Certainly, your personal preference and, more likely, your budget will govern your choice between these two watches. The debate concerning which is superior, originality or ultimate specification, will persist until we're all heads in jars, having forgotten what a wristwatch is or even our own heads. However, there might be an alternative perspective, a different way of looking at this. Perhaps we've been approaching this matter incorrectly, getting too engrossed in the issue to see the bigger picture. The solution may have been apparent to us all along. Well, the straightforward solution is to buy both and call it a day. What are your thoughts? Does the tourbillon elevate the Royal Oak's price but diminish its style, or does it take the Royal Oak to new heights? Share your opinions in the comments. If you found this video enjoyable, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If there are any other watches you'd like to see reviewed, please don't hesitate to inform us in the comments. Again, this is Ventichic and see you next time.